Well, hello, friends. It's Monday. What a way to start the week off. We come together and worship on Sunday. We get into the Word, trying to see what truths God has for us. That then launches us in, at least I pray it does, to a week of getting into the Word so the Word gets into us. So here we are today in Luke chapter 19. It's fascinating. Today's readings between Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they all corresponded pretty closely. You see different aspects of one parable being added. This one not including it. It probably had a lot to do with audience, maybe even with that original source. But in this case, we're coming to one that's a bit unique to Luke, and it's a bit unique in terms of the implications of it. It's a very familiar story. We find it in Luke chapter 19. Let's start at verse 1. He, of course that's Jesus, entered Jericho, was passing through. There was a man named Zacchaeus who was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but he was not able because of the crowd, since he was a short man. So running ahead, he climbed up a sycamore tree to see Jesus, since he was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, because today it is necessary for me to stay at your house." So he quickly came down and welcomed him joyfully. All who saw it began to complain, "He's gone to stay with a sinful man." But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, I'll give half of my possessions to the poor, Lord, and if I have extorted anything from anyone, I'll pay back 4 times as much." "Today salvation has come to this house," Jesus told him, "because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost." All right, like I said, it's a very familiar story, the story of Zacchaeus. You may even know the old children's song we used to learn coming up. Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. Now, here's the thing. Here's Jesus being followed by these enormous crowds. As far as we know, Jesus doesn't have a whole lot of acquaintances in Jericho. It certainly doesn't have some sort of a running list of pictures and names, anything, a pictorial or anything like that. And yet he shows his omniscience in that when he comes by, first of all, he knows where Zacchaeus is. And not just in terms of where he is physically, he knows where he's at spiritually. And so when he identifies him, Zacchaeus is amazed. In fact, he tells him to come down, but he calls him by name. He doesn't walk up and say, "Hey, fella, why don't you come down out of that tree? Let's go to dinner and let's talk about this thing." No, he names him explicitly. "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, because today it's necessary for me to stay at your house." Now, we see the idea of fellowship being conveyed here, and of course it's received well by Zacchaeus, not so well by the crowds. The crowds know Zacchaeus. They know what his profession is. They know the reputation of tax collectors. He's a chief tax collector, which means he had several tax collectors working underneath him. So maybe we could say like he's the Washington IRS agent, and he has agents dispatched all over the country that are working for him. So it may have been because he says, "If I have extorted anybody." So maybe it is that he abided by the rules and the regulations the Romans put in place, which were quite loose. Get us our money. The rest of it's up to you. But he may have known that those underneath him were going about it in a manner of extortion. But here's the thing. Jesus knew it all. Jesus knew that he is a sinner. Jesus knew his profession. He knew everything. And still yet, he said, "It is necessary for me to stay at your house," which symbolized fellowship and acceptance. So as soon as the people see it, they say, "He has gone to stay with a sinful man." They complained. And here's the thing, friends. Their complaint was based upon who Zacchaeus was. It wasn't based upon an understanding of who Jesus could transform him to be. And if I understand things correctly, if Jesus goes about bringing about life transformation in Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus is the boss of several other tax collectors, it would stand to reason that that might trickle down and bode well for them. That if he can do in the life of Zacchaeus just a little of what he's done in the life of others, they've seen him perform miracles. They know his capacity for the miraculous. They should have been saying, "Hey, thank God. He's got Zacchaeus, he's going to his house, and maybe, just maybe, he can bring about a transformation that'll help out our bottom line here." But oh no. No, all they could see in their mind was here was a sinful man, a man who they thought to be a thief, and because he worked for the Roman government, they thought him to be a betrayer of his Jewish heritage, and they rejected him, yet Jesus received him. In fact, Jesus said, Zacchaeus, let's go to your house. Well, Zacchaeus was impacted immediately. And the impact was seen in the fact that he's going to give away a fourth. He says, hey, I'll give up half of my possessions. I said a fourth, but excuse me. I'll give away half my possessions. That shows right there that no longer is money dominating and dictating Zacchaeus' life actions. Now Jesus is. He says, hey, I'll give away half of my possessions. And if I've extorted anyone, anything, then I'll give back 4 times as much as I extorted out of them. Showing that his desire was for fellowship and for restoration. He could care less about those resources anymore. Jesus, seeing it, says, today salvation has come. He is the son of Abraham. This is my purpose, to seek and save the lost. Saying, hey, notice what I just did, people. That is my purpose. And we must understand that too. Now, sometimes we have to take care. We have to be careful that whenever we engage, that we're not presenting the picture of approval. Jesus wasn't approving. Jesus wasn't saying, hey, I approve of what Zacchaeus has done. No, what he's saying is I have come to show grace. I have come to extend salvation to one who was lost so that now he would be found. And that's our ultimate goal. And that means that, hey, I'm going to have lunch with people who may not be an ideal citizen or may have a reputation, but the fact of the matter is they're loved by God, which means they've got to be loved by me. And I've got to love them enough that I'm going to share the gospel with them. And through sharing the gospel, they're going to be confronted in their sins. They're going to be I'm going to communicate the truth of who Jesus is, what he's done, and what difference that's going to make in their life. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to respond to that. And that's our purpose. So I pray today's verses will inspire us to remember that as Jesus moved around and he engaged, he wasn't always looking for the elites. He wasn't always looking for the upper echelons. He was dealing with those who were the outcast, the blind, the rejected, in this case, the chief tax collector. And he intentionally engaged them on a very personal level. And as a result of that, Zacchaeus was saved. We need to be the same. We need to be very intentional of engaging those who we would say would be unbelievers with the gospel. Well, I pray this inspiration has come to your heart today. And as you're heading out to your workplace, your school, or your recreation, remember, your purpose is to be sent out by God. In other words, live sent.